my first question starts with a statement, actually. So the new white paper on energy sets a goal of zero carbon energy system. The International Energy Agency says that we will have to leave 2/3 of proven reserves of fossil fuels in the ground in order to contain climate change. So within that context, will you ban fracking? Will you end peat burning for electricity by 2020? And also, will you end coal burning in Money Point?
Okay. You've got 2 minutes each.
Okay, thank you for the question, and thank you to Young Friends of the Earth and to the Environmental Pillar for inviting me to participate this evening. Just to answer the question specifically, yes, a balanced, secure energy mix is vital to our future growth, not just our obviously worlds, and it can underpin our economic growth. In terms of fracking, Fianna Fáil is opposed to fracking. I've made that commitment a couple of years ago myself personally, but the party is committed to fracking, and if we are in government or in a position to influence the next law, we will ban fracking. We'll phase out peat burning facilities before 2030, and we'll end coal burning in Money Point by 2025 and convert it to biomass.
Okay, thank you.
Lies. Fianna Fáil lies.
Okay, can we just let people speak, please?
Apologise for being late, and very glad to be here. I understood from 350.org, Bill McKibben doing the maths, we have to leave 4/5 of the known fossil fuels in the ground. And I would agree with the question in terms of all three. I think we have to, in my mind, the white paper says we will give up fossil fuels by 2100. It says that we could have up to 30% of fossil fuels in our energy mix by 2050. I don't see how that's possible within the agreement signed in Paris. The agreement signed in Paris, by my reading of it, is we will have to go fossil-free by 2050 at the latest. And I would add a fourth commitment I think we should be seeking in any future government, which is I think we do not issue any new exploration licenses for fossil fuels offshore, or indeed onshore, that there isn't any onshore ones. Because I think if we're serious about this transition, we have to go for that 2050 date. And if we're serious, we have to play our part in leaving 4/5 of the fossils underground. It should be no fracking, no burning coal, no burning peat, but it should also, I would argue, be an end to any exploration for oil or gas in Irish waters or other territorial land.
Okay, thank you. Apologies for the earlier error.
No problem. Yes, yes, and yes for all three. And
yes for fourth?
Yes, the fourth.
No more offshore exploration licenses.
Three questions.
Yes, yes.
On it for now.
yes to that as well. And it's in our manifesto, more to the point. And also, we won't be working as consultants for firms like Eamon is that are funded by Shell Oil. So that's quite important as well. Is it IDG, Eamon? IDG isn't the consultancy firm that you're working for?
No.
We'll see about that. We'll see about that.
Ban fracking.
I've introduced a bill co-written by Friends of the Earth and Untashka into the Dáil already before Christmas, calling for a ban on fracking. I also, at the Environment Committee, made a point of really highlighting what I think is just the disgraceful so-called review by the EIA of fracking, which I think is all of the work, the consultancy work, is actually done by people who are oil and gas companies.
This is the Environmental Protection Agency.
Yeah.
Right.
AMEC, and people, companies that are basically working for the oil and gas business who are doing the review. I think it's absolutely outrageous because it means it's not a balanced or objective review. It's been done by people who want fracking to start. As for the ending peat burning, as I've said, yes to that. We need to move to biomass in Money Point. And of course, to achieve that in a sustainable way, so we don't have to import lots of the wood to burn in Money Point, we need a massive afforestation program, and that has to be resourced by the state. So a key thing for us is, if any of this is really going to happen, we have to take the oil and gas resources into public ownership, where we decide if at all any of them are used. And similarly, we should resist any attempt to privatise Cuilcha, something that was supported by the government and by Eamon beside me. So we absolutely think natural resources of all sorts must be kept in public ownership if any of the pledges made on these issues are to be actually met.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Boyle, yep, just clear, I suppose we do support the phasing out of the peat burning and the coal burning at Money Point and the 3 peat burning stations by 2020, I think for the peat burning, 2025 for the coal, that is on, yep, for the coal burning. We're absolutely opposed to fracking, and we've been very consistent on this both north and south of the island and also in European Parliament, which I think some of our parties seem to have a dual approach. They say one thing on the island and then they vote very differently in the European Union, and I suppose I've been to the fore and highlighting that. Only recently, and it was 2 weeks ago, there was a call for a complete stopping to fracking, a ban on it, and Fine Gael supported the opposite. They refused to support a ban on fracking until studies are shown that this is safe, and we know it's not. Also, the EPA study, Sinn Féin supported the Halt the Study campaign, and Richard Boivard is right, it was CDM Smith. They actually they hosted the Shale conference in Poland in 2013. They didn't declare a conflict of interest when they tendered for carrying out that study. So it's a flawed study. And while we agree that it should be halted, we want to know if Fine Gael are back in government, are they going to just reopen that study? So we're opposed to fracking without a doubt, as I said, both north and south and in the European Parliament. And what Sinn Féin is looking for is renewable, meeting our renewable targets, going above and beyond that. We have identified tidal as a wave production, wave energy, but also second generation biofuels, so using where the sugar beet had been grown to use for second generation, not first generation biofuels.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. And Pauline Fine Gael in government at the moment, and I'm actually proud of the fact I think we'll be talking about the climate change bill that we brought through this year, and it's the very first year. I think we're 25 years waiting for a climate change bill. And this year, and I know, Eamon, when you were there, you did try your best at the time, but it didn't happen. But it may not be as strong as everybody wants it to be, but we will be discussing maybe the detail of it later and what it does. On the specific question, because the white paper does set a goal of zero carbon energy, of course you would be silly to say that we cannot go on using fossil fuel the way we are doing. COP21 in Paris, that was the same week that we put through our climate change bill, and we have set the targets there, and what we are going is on the European targets. I know personally probably you'd love to set the targets much lower, but we have to be realistic as well. And if I say no, no, no and no to everything, you do say that you actually have, Lynn mentioned the wave and tidal energy. That is at a research stage at the moment, and it is actually not in production commercially. So you have to be realistic as well in your proposals, that if you say no, 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 that you have to say yes, 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 realism to what is going to be there. Because when you
Sorry,
switch...
Coach, are you going to ban fracking?
At the moment there is a moratorium and fracking is banned until such time as the EPA. I want to contradict Richard and say not all of the people who are engaged in the surveys have conflicts of interest or anything like it. There's no way the EPA, you are absolutely doing a disservice to the EPA, who are, they're one of them, yes, yeah, but they have other experts as well, they're one. Now, when you are sitting on a committee, one voice doesn't always, it may shout loudest, but it may not be listened. There is a moratorium until the review. Personally,
to not have a moratorium on fracking.
There is at the moment until the EPA. I'm here in Ireland at the moment, and what I'm speaking on is what I'm doing here in Ireland at the moment, and that's what I've been asked about. And on fracking, until such time, I think personally, looking at fracking and knowing what I know about it, and have looking at there are two films, the Shell film and the I personally wouldn't be in favour. But having said that, I have to be honest as well and say that is our policy until the EPA reports. Now I will be peat burning as well. Obviously, and you know this government, what it has done for the bogs of Ireland and ensuring, and I know we have a member in Europe now who fought Trojanly from Roscommon against what we were doing with the bogs and saving the bogs. I do, yes, we have to move on to renewable energy, but sustainable renewable energy. We have the best land mass in Ireland for growing biomass, and in the DAX plant for biomass that
Sorry,
is
but you're
in,
just running way over time.
in London.
You
I'm just saying sustainable biomass has to be the aim for this country, because it is
Instead of peat burning.
yes, we are to aim towards that, and that is our objective. But we have to be realistic. What I'm saying is, yeah, to transition over a period. You can't ban it in the morning, because if we did, we'd close down everything. You know, you have to run the businesses, but we have to make sure wind is on renewable. I think there may be a question on renewable energy, and I hope there is, because if my time is up, there's lots of it, there's lots of what we have to do, and there's lots of methodologies that we are supporting to ensure that we have other methods to take place. So definitely, yes.
Okay, Robert. Thank you, Robert Dad from the Labour Party.
In relation to fracking, page 52 of our manifesto commits us not to proceed with fracking. In relation to peat burning, we want to see that moving away from that as rapidly as possible. I think by 2020, but I'm going to have to check that particular date. In relation to Money Point, we wanted to those in terms of being a coal burning energy supply by 2025, and to replace it with an alternative that is much more friendly.
Thank you.
And in relation to the issue that Eamon Ryan brought up about no more exploration licenses for oil, we do not have a position on that, but I will bring back the idea, because I think it is worth considering.
Okay. Thank you very much. 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 Thank you very much.